Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of my animating object shows with Blender series. And in our first episode, we are going to discuss working with rigs and how to make them. So in animation, a rig is something that simplifies animation and allows you to reuse assets that you have already made. So for example, in my rig over here, which I made to make animations for my game, the game name has not, I will discuss later. So here we have the mouth controller, and as you can see, I can swap between a set of different mouths that I have already made, and this can be useful to make the animation process a lot easier. And so this is my rig over here. So I will show you what rigs can allow you to do. So I can, as you can see, I can rotate his arm, and I can rotate from this point, and it bends really nicely. And it, I can rotate his wrist as well, so I can do make him a bit, what we can say, let's just rotate this 90 degrees, minus 90 degrees, and then rotate this a bit more, and there we go. And I will rotate to this 90 degrees as well, and rotate this a bit more, and there we go. It's no longer a T pose anymore. Also, there is this bone that controls, I guess, the shear. So I can shear him to the right a bit, left a bit, or I can just use the Z and squish him. That also works. This bone can be used for squash and stretch, by squashing him like this, and you can also stretch him from this bone. And yes, I have made it so that this bone doesn't affect the scaling of these bones. And this is my basic rig. As you can see, I can move his face around. There is also an eye controller to move his eyes. There is a mouth controller, move his mouth around, and also swap the mouth asset. There is this, and there is this. Currently, I've only made 3 mouth assets. This one, and this one, and this one. So not that many. It's still a work in progress. But you can see what I've done here. I should lock rotation on Z axis, I think. Also on the X axis. I should have done this before, I know. Okay, let's just reset everything. Oh, he's sad. Let's make him happy. Okay, so this is my basic rig which I use for animation. Let me save that. Use Control S to save. So now in order to animate, you're going to need Blender. So if you most probably know about Blender, it is a really famous software. It's been used for 3D animation. Just recently in Blender 2.8, they just added support for 2D animation, as you can see over here. So in order to download Blender, you can go over to www.blender.org, and as you can see, this is their website, and here you can just download Blender 2.8 2.82a, which is the latest version of Blender and is the version that I am using. You can download Blender from here, blender.org, or you can also download Blender from Steam. If you download it from Steam, it will automatically update you to the latest version of Blender every time. So that's really useful for me. And so so let's just start a new file and I will show you how to make a new rig, or at least the basics of rigs. So as you can see, my scene, or this my window, is a bit different because I've changed some things around according to my preference. So first one, dimension. As you can see here in the scene output properties tab over here, under the scene section, I've changed the dimensions or resolution of my canvas. So you might want to change that. You will have 1920 by 1080. I've changed it to 800 by 800 pixels. If you're using 1920 by 1080, there is one setting you might want to change, which is this. Normally this is like 50%, so it will downscale your animation by 50% while rendering. So instead of 1920 by 1080, it will be like 720p instead of 1080p. So you would want to change the percentage to 100%. This will render the animation at the same resolution as this resolution over here. And these settings, you don't want to mess with them. I do change my frame rate. You might not want to change your frame rate and stick to the standard 24 frames per second, but I prefer 30 frames per second. I'm not going to change that right now since we are only making the rig and it's not really required. The output you will have to change definitely. Obviously, in the rendering episode, I will change the output as well. The other thing that I've changed, let me go into object mode here, is the camera. So with the camera, I've changed the focal length of the camera. So if you open up Blender for the first time, your standard focal length for your camera will be 50 millimeters, but I've changed it to 170. It's really a personal choice that arose because of a few things here and there. Shouldn't really affect the tutorial, your ability to follow the tutorial, but that's what we're starting with. So let's get started. So just select your stroke over here. As you can see, you will be in draw mode. You want to select the lines layer or just get rid of the fills layer. You might, or just keep it around to use later. So as you can see, here are some tools over here. There is the draw tool, then the line tool, and you need to press space bar or any key to confirm the line. Multiple line, which allows you to make multiple lines. And then there is also the curve tool. It allows you to make curves. The double curve, you want to make some odd curves or something. The box tool, very useful. And also the circle. So these are all the basic tools that you will need while drawing, or which are provided while drawing. Now let's learn how to make an arm, because the arm is the most basic thing that you will make while for your animation. Now, just a quick note, here you can see the strength over here, which so for you, when you first open a blender, the strength will be 50%. So when you'll draw, it will appear to be transparent. So you might want to turn up the strength to 100% in order to it to be drawn properly. So that is one thing. And so let's just get started with making an arm or a basic arm rig, or how I rig characters. Now I'm not going to rig a full character because it will take time. So I will make it in second episode probably. So first you put a dot and then you hit tab on your keyboard to go into edit mode. Now you select this point and go up here and select mode, switch the select mode to select only points. Now with your points selected, you want to press shift S and hit selection to cursor. This will center your point over here. Now press G, press X. G is the button, your keyboard shortcut for moving things, and X just binds it to the X axis. So move it over here, press E to extrude and press X again to lock to the X axis, and do it one more time. Now this is your basic arm. It doesn't look like an arm at the moment, but it will look like an arm very soon. Now you need a hand at the end. I'll switch layers over here. So now just one thing, draw the arm on one layer and draw the end hand on the other layer, because of various these, because it's required, okay, because it's required. Now on the fills tab on the layer, just bump up the radius and just draw this, or control Z. Wait, I think 300 will be a good amount. Okay, now press tab to go into edit mode, shift S, selection to cursor, G to move, X to lock on the X axis, and just put it when it looks like an object show arm. And so there we go, it's our basic object show arm. As you can see, it can be rotated, but now we need to add some controls. So now we are in object mode and we add armature. This allows you to add bones. As you can see, this is a bone, and now you might want to come out of camera over here by pressing 0 on your number pad, and as you can see, and we might want to rotate our view around a bit. So now with our bones selected, hit tab to go into edit mode and go over here in the bone tab, bone properties tab, change the Z to 0 of the tail and Y to 1. And as you can see, there is our basic setup going on over here. Now you want to hit tab to come out of edit mode, select our stroke and hit tab again, select this end point over here and just, as you can see, shift S and then select cursor to selected. Now our 3D cursor, wait, where is I will just enable 3D cursor. So as you can see, there is our 3D cursor over there and it is sitting on that point over there. So we select our bone, hit tab again, select the bone and then go into edit mode. Now this thing over here, we need to put it where our 3D cursor is. So we press Shift S and then selection to cursor, and as you can see, these numbers have updated over here. So let's just select this, Control C to copy the number, and here Control V to paste it right here. And as you can see, there is our basic setup. Now let me just do this all of this quickly again. For the sake of the video, I'll speed the process up. And as you can see, I've made all the bones required. So there is 1, 2, 3 bones required in this setup. Now we just need to make the bones, the thing follow the bones, because as you can see, it's not really doing much. So let's go back to object mode. Also, let's go back to edit mode for a few seconds. When I rotate these bones, the other bones were not rotating. So we need to change that. So we need to make this bone a child of the first bone. So go into relations over here and select parent bone. And for this bone as well, select bone 1. And as you can see now, if we go into pose mode allows us to change the bones rotation and stuff. You can see that we are able to rotate the bone over here. When we rotate this bone, all the other bones move. Rotate this bone and that bone moves. And this bone is the last bone in the chain, so it doesn't affect anything. Now let's go back to object mode. And now how you're going to, the way you're going to deal with having your drawing follow the bones, it's very simple. So first you need to go into edit mode and go into the object data properties tab over here, which is this little curly icon over here, this green icon. And then you need to just lock the fills layer and just focus on the lines layer for a bit. Select this point over here and also make sure that the select mode is select only points. And now what you need to do is you need to make vertex groups. So we will just press the plus icon to add new vertex group, and with this point selected, click assign. Select the next point, make a new group, assign, new group, next select the next point and assign. Also unlock the fills tab and click here to select this and assign this to group 2 as well, because it's going to be the part of the same group as this point over here. Now with all the groups assigned, no need to lock them. We can finally start making the rig follow, making the arm follow the rig controllers. So as you can see, go into the modifiers tab, modifier properties tab, or the modifier whatever tab, and select hook. Now the hook will allow you to hook these points to various bones. So now if we just turn off fall off, so fall off should be off, no fall off, and turn the strength to 1. Select, and here object. Here in the object, select armature as our object and the first bone as our bone. And as you can see, the whole thing has suddenly shifted to follow that bone, or to be along that bone. So now if we just select this, our bones for example, and go into pose mode, rotating this bone should be affecting everything else. Yeah, there we go. Let's just go back into pose mode and undo the rotation. Let's just also, you want to change the rotation mode from quaternion WXYZ to XYZ Wheeler. This is a much better way of handling rotations if you're going to be animating, which you are because you're watching this tutorial. Now if you go into the modifier, select the vertex group, and then hit tab to go. Also select this edit mode, display modifier in edit mode, and hit tab. Once you hit tab, you need to select this point which is offset over here, shift S, and then press cursor to world origin. This centers our cursor in the center of the world. Now we press shift S again and selection to cursor, and as you can see, it's where it's supposed to be. Now if we can just select a bone and just G to move it around. The stroke might take a bit to update. Now you just keep on adding more modifiers. So if we select all this over here, let's just shrink this or just collapse this menu over here, add another hook, and just do the same, follow the same process, but use the different bone, no fall off, vertex group 1, and that's done over there. Now again here, armature, bone number 2, no fall off, strength all the way up, strength all the way up, select this, vertex group 2, and now just hit tab to go into edit mode, and just use shift S to just selection to cursor, and selection to cursor, but obviously we need to move it a little bit, so GX, and here just put it right there, and so there is your rig. Now obviously I just use some custom bone shapes in my own rig, You can learn that from any other tutorial. It's really simple to set up a custom bone shapes. But now if we just head into pose mode, um, never mind. Also, there is one more thing you might want to add. Just add another modifier and select where is it? Subdivide. Now subdivide will make your make it more smooth or appear more smoother. And so if we just enable this, then it will update live. And as you can see, uh, crap. Um, okay, you need to move the object in order to get it to snap. I think I did something that made it snap automatically. So that's how you make a rig. So as you can see, pose mode, and as you can see, you can rotate this object over here. Edit mode. I'm not edit mode. I want to head into pose mode, and as you can see, this is how to set up a basic rig for animation. You can also apply this to other arm and also to legs, the same basic modifiers. And that's how you set up a basic rig. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.